Actually, what we've seen over the past few months is that all analysts have revised their outlook for Spain upwards. There are constant positive surprises which are leading them towards actually increasing their outlook for Spain, which is bright not only in the short run. We saw yesterday that the forecast for Spain in 2024 will be 2.9% of real growth. So we will be the major advanced economy leading the pack in terms of growth in 2024, and we will be leading amongst euro area economies as well in 2025. So it's not short run, but also medium-term outlook, which is looking bright for Spain.
We know the narrative of the strong core and then the weaker periphery countries has flipped on its head in recent years, and the silver lining really has been the bounce back in services, particularly tourism, where Spain has benefited, and we've clearly seen a big bounce in overnight stays again in July and August, despite attempts to move away from some of the seasonality. What comes next? Because there's still a lot of conversation points around economists that Spain is too reliant on tourism.
Well, actually, the external sector, including exports and services, has been one of the main drivers of growth and will be also going forward. But it's services, both tourism and non-tourism services. When you look at non-tourism services, which is basically services to firms, be it financial or telecom services, they've increased by more percentage points than tourism, and we would be reaching 100 billion exports in non-tourism services, while tourism services would reach 90 billion. So they're above tourism. It's so that tourism is peaking. We might reach 95 million tourists in 2024 for a country of 48 million inhabitants. And of course, we have to deal with the additional pressures that this creates. But the truth is that we are witnessing some diversification elements, including not only in terms of the months where tourism is coming, with shoulder months around summer increasing more than summer months, and also diversification in terms of the geographical locations away from the shore, away from the coast, and more into rural tourism related, for example, with great products such as gastronomy in Spain.
A big topic here is inflation. So let me turn to that, because Spanish inflation now 1.7%, down from 2.4% in August, so back below target. Yet the fall was really due to a lot of the retreat we're seeing in energy prices if you look at the annual level. Does that suggest there's still a danger zone ahead for Spain, or do you think you've now won the fight against inflation?
Well, we've seen moderation in inflation not only for the past months, there is a trend towards this moderation in headline, but also in underlying inflation. It's so that the underlying is a bit, there's a bit more of hysteresis, and it's a bit more difficult to reduce it, but it's also showing a downward trend, which is positive in terms of really thinking that the end zone is almost there. And this is also the interpretation that the European Central Bank is taking. We see the decisions that they're making in terms of going ahead with a reduction of interest rates. So it appears that we are somehow curbing the neck of inflation.
The remaking of Europe is a big order, and I think a tall order. A lot of people are talking about what comes next on the competitiveness side as we talk about not just inflation, but also the growth profile. Spain has suggested just getting on with things when it comes to capital markets union. You've come up with a plan to get like-minded companies together, sort of mini version of capital markets union, if I can call it that. Tell us about this idea and how you would see it progressing.
Well, that's actually one of the most important elements is as we continue with the moderation of inflation, we have to boost growth, not only short run, but potential growth going ahead. So that's the fight for competitiveness, the fight for productivity. We have this wonderful Draghi report, which sets out more than 150 recommendations for the European Union to be more competitive. So we have to make good on this call for action and being able to put those recommendations in practice. So what we are putting on the table to be able to really launch this and avoid frustration is what we call a EU Competitiveness Lab. So a controlled environment where a few countries that want to go ahead with integration in capital markets union, for example, can do it since day one. We do not have to wait 2 years until regulation is in place. We can do it already now with the help of the European Commission and see the impact almost in real time. And specific projects is to have a standardization, harmonization of the ratings of SMEs so that they can access financing outside of the domestic market as well.
Who's on board with you? What other countries are supporting this?
Well, we've seen actually very positive reception of this initiative. We have the French, my French finance minister colleague, the Dutch as well. So, and there's a huge interest around the table because all of them, they might be thinking about their own projects that can actually fit this new governance tool.
It's fascinating.